Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from nichepursuits.com. And I'm excited to do another podcast here with you. And it's a guest today. We've got Dave Schneider from ninjaoutreach.com. Ninja Outreach is, as it sounds, an outreach tool for people trying to build links, do content marketing, and just connect with influencers. So Dave's got a great story of how he started, and I'll let him tell his story, but he started out with a travel blog and did okay there. Had the opportunity, he and his girlfriend, to go backpacking really across the world, and we chat about that just a little bit. But then he moved on to this software project, which is Ninja Outreach. And if you haven't checked it out, I would love it if you use my affiliate link, of course, which is nichepursuits.com/ninja. And it's for anybody that has a website, a niche website, their own product, any type of business that they might have that they're trying to get influencers involved. So it helps you prospect for influencers, reach out to those influencers, and hopefully get links back to your website or mentions of your product. And Dave dives into how he grew that business, how he found developers, how much revenue the business is doing now. It's doing quite well, and some specific tips for link building and outreach that you can hopefully implement into your own website as well. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. Hey, Dave, welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast.
Hey, Spencer. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, absolutely. It's great to have you on the podcast to discuss your business. I know you guys have grown quite a bit. And of course, I'm talking about Ninja Outreach in particular that I want to dive into. But before we do, can you give us a quick background on your business or work experience previous to Ninja Outreach?
Sure. Previous to Ninja Outreach, and I'm going to make a long story short here, although I'm only 29, it's not that long, but it's it's too long for for 5 minutes.
Sure.
Basically, after university, I worked in a corporate office at a financial services company as a business analyst. I worked there for 2 years in Washington, D.C. When my girlfriend was an accountant in the city. Both of us had dreams of backpacking around the world. So after the 2 years, we had saved up some money, quit our jobs, and went backpacking to Japan and then like a bunch of other countries for 2 years. And during that time, we started working online. I was doing some travel blogging. We started a couple sort of services in the travel blogging niche related to basically working with paid advertisers, doing a little bit of like link selling, things like that, mostly just trying to kind of get a taste for working online in that way. So we kind of did that for about 2 years or so and started Ninja Outreach in mid 2014 and been working on it 100% ever since.
Awesome. So was the travel blog your first business online? Is that the first thing you did?
Yeah, that was the first thing that we did.
Mm-hmm. And so you had, what would you rate the level of success with the travel blog?
I would say highly successful.
Okay.
And I'm a modest person, to be honest, but, travel blogging in general is not a money making, idea. It's an extremely saturated market. Many people try it. Few people are sort of successful with it. We did something a little different than everybody else. And that was, we focused very much so on how we could make money in the niche. We didn't necessarily treat it as a long-term business. We didn't see it as a long-term strategy, which is probably the one thing that I would say takes it down a few notches in terms of, how you might rate highly successful. Yeah. But we really focused on how we could basically make money in the niche. We caught on to a few opportunities very early on in sort of the link selling space. Advertisers and brands were really interested in working with travel bloggers and buying spots on their websites, buying like keywords, things like that. Mm-hmm. And once we kind of saw that there was that opportunity, we just kind of thought about, well, what are the limiting factors in this business? Well, the limiting factor is that we only have one travel blog. So we started building and buying and building other websites, building up other blogs, expanding our network of advertisers. and created like a nice system of kind of managing the whole thing. So in the 2 years or so, we were able to do in the six figures and really cover the entirety of our backpacking trip and also beyond.
Yep. That's excellent, man. That's really cool. You kind of saw a need, you filled it, monetized it, and had some success with it. I'm sure there's a whole discussion that we could have on that, but I think both of us know that probably Ninja Outreach is the larger business at this point. So I want to dive into that. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about Ninja Outreach, your business right now.
Sure. You want to know right, like right now, or more like the history type thing?
Yeah, maybe give a little bit of history, maybe the, genesis of the idea, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I can kind of a little bit answer a little bit more the earlier question, which was, what happened in the travel blogging thing. So early 2014, Google kind of came out with some algorithmic changes that kind of penalized that whole market, and essentially that market imploded. And I didn't really want to be focusing on that anymore. It just didn't seem like a good long-term strategy. So was looking for other ideas, was really attracted to software because I felt like it was building a real product, solving a real need, having real customers, and connected with my now co-founder. Actually did a podcast episode with him. We were talking about what we thought the needs were in the marketplace. I had been kind of on the blogger outreach side as a blogger because brands had reached out to me about working with, their clients. So we were investigating the tools in the space to see what brands were doing to kind of get this done. And we felt like we saw some gaps in the market, namely that there were tools that could do outreach and there were tools that could do prospecting, but there wasn't a tool that did both. So that was our idea. We were going to be the all-in-one blogger outreach software where you could prospect for bloggers and influencers and outreach to them all in one streamlined process or tool. So we pretty much ran with that idea, try to do some customer development, get beta testers, start a blog, do some content marketing. This is, mid-late 2014. We launched in 2015 to crickets. Literally, I think one customer converted from the beta. And at the end of the month of January, we had 3 customers, and this is a $19 a month product. So, ouch. Do the math. And we had just invested 6 months into it. But, maybe this was stupidity, but we didn't treat it as a sunk cost, or so we just said, well, we had already kind of invested all this time. Like, let's just continue with it. We have the product. Let's try to sell it. So we just kept kind of growing it every month, first month, 3 customers, second month, 6 customers, and just kind of going up and up and doing a lot of content marketing, influencer marketing to grow the traffic to the blog and then to convert them to customers. And now we're about 2.5 years later from inception, we have over 500 customers and, do a bit over 30 grand a month in revenue.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was something I wanted to dive into. Give people an idea of how successful the company is. So $30,000 a month in revenue, new customers are signing on, I assume. So it's continuing to grow, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like essentially early 2015 is really when you kind of launched it, right? So it's been about 2 years since you kind of launched. Fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. So not bad at all. So, that's a great business. You have you and one partner, and then how many people are working for you? Do you have a few programmers or anything like that?
Yep. We have 3 developers, and we have, I think, 9 people on sort of the marketing staff. So it's a total of 12, all foreign remote employees from, different countries. And then they have the 2 co-founders really active in the business.
Yeah. So what is it that helped you guys turn the corner, you think? Going from signing up 3 customers the first month. I know you mentioned, content marketing and outreach. Was that pretty consistent? Was it just a slow, steady, consistent thing? Or did you see any big jumps for any particular activities that you did?
It more or less has been slow and steady with the handful of spikes kind of sprinkled throughout the last 2 years. The most of the slow and steady part was how do we build the traffic to the website, a lot of content marketing. In the first year of 2015, I probably wrote like 100 or more guest posts.
Wow.
We reached out to a lot of influencers about doing product reviews. We kind of just reached out to everybody, anybody that we thought, could even talk about us. We weren't picky about, how big is their audience and things like that. We were kind of in a position of having no authority whatsoever. So we just kind of, went out to the marketplace to kind of see if people were receptive, and they were. And we put in a lot of effort to kind of, like I said, produce content, work with them. And, over time, that basically, it adds up, it adds up to sort of grow the traffic. Now, while that's going on simultaneously, there were a few kind of bigger events. We did a launch with AppSumo in late 2015, which did well. I feel like also kind of got ourselves out there. We've increased our prices twice now. We went from $19 a month at the beginning to what we're now $49 a month. That's the lowest plan. We have higher plans or so, so the pricing has gone up. We've done some split testing, conversion rate, optimization type stuff. So, improving the onboarding. So there isn't really one thing. And I know you know this probably better than any, but there's not one thing that just kind of like, just triggered business growth as much as just kind of constant effort to kind of make sure that there's something coming in the funnel, and then always thinking about optimization and things that we could kind of do to improve it.
Yep, absolutely. No, like you said, I've seen things similar, with my business Longtail Pro. It's just a lot of work day in and day out. Over time, things continue to grow, and the effort that you might put in, whether it's content marketing or outreach or whatever, a couple of months ago, you might start to see some of those sales down the road. So it takes a lot of work to grow out the business. So while we're talking about content marketing, and you mentioned, you wrote 100, guest posts in, a short period of time. What was your pitch? I mean, for people listening, that maybe have their own software company or are just trying to reach out for other reasons. I mean, what do you say to somebody that you really don't know perhaps very well, and essentially saying, hey, can I do a guest post or, generate some other content marketing deal there?
Yeah, it's really not that complicated, actually. I think what scares people the most is the idea of outreaching to someone they don't know and maybe bothering someone or being rejected. Those are the things that I think kind of delay people from trying. But at the end of the day, most people are interested in having quality content on their blog, and they're willing to provide a spot to somebody else who is going to write that quality content if the pitch is personalized and relevant, with the exception of, maybe some of the really, really big names that just kind of just don't do that type of things. A lot of people are really receptive to it. So, we identify the influencers in the marketing niche, and we read their blogs. We try to we would think about what content would perform well on their website, by looking at some of the history of their content. And so we pitched them some really personal stuff, some personal titles. And then, of course, we always tried to offer additional things like the product for free, or an affiliate, be an affiliate for us, or different things that they could get additional value beyond the post. And the combination of all of those things, led to a really pretty high success rate. So the limiting factor was not the opportunities. It never has been. It's just been in being able to write enough articles to sort of fill them.
Yeah. So here's maybe a softball question, but how did you find all of these people to go and pitch?
So that was Ninja Outreach did play a large part in that. To be completely honest, we have definitely been using our tool since day one. It has a contact finding capability, which I find to be a huge timer, and then obviously has a search engine and things like that. So it's important to kind of eat your own dog food, to kind of play with your own tool and really understand where are the pluses and minuses of it, so you get that feedback loop to use it. So it wasn't just Ninja Outreach, but definitely that's been a major tool for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So for people that haven't used Ninja Outreach or don't know exactly what it is, we sort of talked about it, but can you sort of explain in just a little bit more depth exactly what it does? For somebody that has a blog or a niche site or a software product. Yeah. What does Ninja Outreach do? What are some of the features there?
Sure. The first thing to understand is kind of influencer marketing and how that marketing channel really can fit into the overall marketing strategy. And the basic concept there is that there are influencers online like yourself who have large audiences and may be interested in working with other brands or businesses to promote what they have to their audience so that they can make a commission and provide value to their audience, and kind of everybody is really happy with that scenario. So Ninja Outreach is about a tool to help you run those campaigns more efficiently. The major kind of bottlenecks in running those campaigns is, how do I find the influencers? How do I get a list of them? How do I make sure they're relevant? How do I get contact information? And then how do I basically outreach to them? How do I manage that? So Ninja Outreach is that tool. It's a search engine basically, but it's sort of tailored to marketers. It has, marketing data that people would be interested in, like somebody's domain authority or location or things like that. It's a CRM, so it's a way for you to organize influencers into different lists depending on the campaigns that you're looking to run. And then it's an outreach tool because you can integrate your email address and then send people emails and pitch to them. So that's kind of the process all in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the cool things, one of the cool sort of added features that I like is sort of the email templates that are in there. So you can have, basically you can draft up your own emails and have some, what do you call them? Just some custom text. So
Fields.
Fields, right. Yeah, so it can insert people's, domain names or whatever. There's a few different options there so that you can, if you find 20 or 30 influencers in your market, you're essentially sending them the same email, but it'll input their domain or whatever. So it personalizes it just a little bit. Found that to be a big time saver. So it's kind of a cool feature there as well. So sure. Now I take it that, you had a finance background. You're not a software developer. How did you go about finding a programmer to help you build the tool in the first place?
Yeah, very good point. I took an introductory computer science class in university, which taught me, but believe it or not, actually taught me a decent amount, about not enough to be able to code software. I would be a complete hazard if I was actually coding software, but enough to at least have a conversation with a developer and understand kind of like what they were talking about and have a bit of a basic knowledge. At the end of the day, though, like I needed a developer, and we were going back now to 2014, and I want to start a software product, but have no business starting a software business. I got lucky. I know it's not the answer everyone wants to hear, but my partner, Mark, who I had done the podcast with, had a developer friend, and we brought him on board, and it was the three of us in the beginning, and he basically built the first prototype. Later on, when the need for development increased, we went on to Odesk, Upwork, formerly Odesk, and basically put out a job listing. And then we had, the developer that we had basically interview the applicants to understand who was the most qualified. And then since then, that applicant who has now become our full-time lead developer has now interviewed the other two people that we've sort of brought on. So, definitely it was, it wasn't like I was thinking, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to teach myself to code, and I don't even know like where to begin with this. And I was able to find someone in my network who could kind of get us to the first step. And then from there, leveraging this person's knowledge and expertise to kind of interview and find the next developers to join the team.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. When you're not a coder yourself, that can be a huge hurdle for people. But I'm not a coder, you're not a coder, and both of us have been able to build software companies. So for people listening out there, it's definitely doable. You might have to jump through a couple of extra hoops, but it's very possible to find somebody good to add to your team to build out your vision, to build out your product for you. So
definitely.
So listening to your story, I mean, other than, it had a slow start, but it sounds like it fairly consistently grew after that as you continued to work on it. I don't want to give people the idea that, this business has been easy and that it's just, everything's been great. What are some of the challenges that you guys have had along the way? Either something that didn't go as planned, or, things that worry you about the business? What are maybe some roadblocks that you guys have run into along the way?
Had a lot. Yeah, had a lot, have a lot. Will have more, I'm sure. We've probably made, I can't even think of like more mistakes we could have made. I feel like sometimes you just do everything wrong. Maybe this is just what everybody's experience is like when they kind of do their first business in a niche or an area that they're not super expertise in, which is the case with me in software. Firstly, it comes down to mainly the product. The first product that we launched was a desktop application. In 2014, it didn't quite hit us on the head that a desktop application wasn't the way of the future. But after like a few months, it really became clear that people in the niche didn't really want that. Additionally, it was a desktop application that only worked for Windows users. And this stuff sounds probably just crazy nowadays to anybody who's listening, but at the time I just didn't think anything of it. But I had been a Windows user. All my friends had used Windows, and I just assumed that Mac users were like a small minority, like 10% or so of the marketplace. They ended up being significantly larger, like probably 50-50. So we had this desktop application that half the market couldn't use, that the other half that could use it didn't really want to use it. We only accepted PayPal. We couldn't accept credit cards. Again, I just thought like everybody had a PayPal account and it wasn't a big deal. But later on, I found out that some countries don't allow PayPal, that a lot of companies don't work with PayPal. They want, credit cards. So we learned, that Stripe was a thing. So there was just a lot of really poor decisions that were made because we didn't do the research. I never thought we always think about features, what features do people want? What features do the competitors have? I never thought about, what is the payment processing gateway we should use? What should be, what percentage of the market uses Windows? What uses Mac? Like, are people comfortable paying? So that early on lack of customer development really set us back because we pretty much had to redo everything once we got going. And when I said that we only had like 3 customers in the first month and like 6 in the second, we didn't have the budget to really, this all just came out of savings. We just had to hire a developer and just throw a bunch of money at them to fix the poor decision making that we had made. This is a bootstrap startup, by the way, always has been, and probably always will be. So, just those types of things. You lose a lot of time, by making the wrong decision, and you lose a lot of money, and they're just kind of hard lessons to swallow. But I think that probably everybody has something. I've read your story about the developer and the code and the IP issues. So,
oh, yeah.
I feel like you've been there in one way or another.
Boy, I think both of us, you sort of learn the ropes as you go, if you will. When I started, all of those things you just brought up, and more, right, are things that you just don't think about a lot of times. If it's your first product, you think exactly like you think about the features. What do you want to? What problems are you solving that can help customers out? And that's key. But there's all these other peripheral things that you don't think about that, can stunt the growth of your business a little bit. But as you discovered, and luckily you guys were able to, sort of pivot and change and include those things that you needed to include, that you've been able to grow the business. But for some people, maybe they don't have the extra savings, and that, could sort of kill their business if they don't do it right the first time. So it's good to hear that not everything was rosy for your business, maybe encouraging for people listening out there that are maybe going through some struggles right now in their business. It happens to everybody. But if you're able to kind of overcome those and hopefully continue to grow your business, you can have success down the road. So at this point, I would like to dive in just a little bit into maybe specific tactics for link building for somebody building a niche site. So, pick any topic you want. If say somebody's building a niche site on dogs or pets in general or something, right? So what's a link building strategy using Ninja Outreach that you would recommend? Like a specific, not just general, they should outreach to tons of people, but is there some specific, strategy that you would recommend they employ?
Yeah, there's a couple ones that I like to recommend. One of them is kind of a competitor sort of link building strategy. I got to work on my nomenclature, but basically where the combination of using Ninja Outreach in a backlink checker like Moz or Ahrefs, you can take a competitor website or a group of competitor websites, put them into a tool like Moz or Ahrefs to get their backlinks, and then but the problem is those tools don't give you the contact information. They're not outreach tools. So now take that backlink profile and import it into Ninja Outreach, and we'll go out and we'll find the contact information, and then we'll allow you to basically outreach to them. And the strategy here is basically to approach those websites who linked to your competitor. And there could be a variety of things you might want to say. You might just want to guest post for them. You might want to see if you can get your link to replace your competitor's link, or your resource to replace your competitor's resource. So that's kind of like a simple strategy that works, that can definitely work, where you're targeting people that are pretty relevant because they're already linking to your competitor. And those backlink tools, although they definitely have paid plans, you can actually get a lot of information for free just by using say like Open Site Explorer. That's Moz's one. Put in a URL, and then you can export the backlink. So that's one thing that I might mention. Another thing is sort of the opposite effect might be kind of like the content marketing type of thing. So for example, running an expert roundup or basically bringing influencers into the content that you're writing. So if you can identify some people who are also influencers in the space, inviting them to basically participate in, say, an expert roundup, or participate in the content that you're basically writing, or appear on the podcast that you might be doing. Those types of things are done easier with Ninja Outreach because we have the search tool, so it's quicker than searching through Google, and it's a bit more relevant. And then we have the contact information, and then the easy transition to Outreach kind of makes that process shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Good tips there. Do you have any idea of what type of conversion rate people should expect? If they reach out to 100 people, how many are even going to respond, and how many do you think they'll actually end up getting a link from?
It definitely depends on, the niche, the quality of the template that you send out, the quality of the people that you're targeting, and, really what you're asking for. Because if you're asking, to write like a guest post, or if you're asking to feature someone in an expert roundup, those things tend to be pretty high. Those could be, 20, 30% of people will say yes and things like that, because people like I said, people like the free content. They like to be featured, those types of things. If you're looking for, some way to kind of replace your links, or not your links, but replace someone's links with yours, or just link to you in general, those tend to be pretty low, like single digit type percentages. But, in certain niches, a couple links really can kind of help make a difference, because yes, it's not a lot of links, and yes, it's kind of hard to get them, but that barrier to entry is what would separate you from the other people that really just have none whatsoever. So, sometimes the harder it is to get a link, the more valuable it is when you get one. So it is a bit of a quality, not quantity issue.
Absolutely. And I will just add my 2 cents here when I think about other link building strategies. For example, there still are a lot of people that are out doing things that are more gray hat, black hat, whatever you want to call it, building out private blog networks and things like that. Back in the day that was popular, and that seemed like an easy way, you get your guaranteed link. But it just seems like now with tools like Ninja Outreach and other methods, it's so much easier to just reach out to these people and get a guest post or some other, basic strategy to try and do some very white hat link building, that you can almost just as easy and as quickly get a very high quality link as you would, spending all this time building out a PBN and making sure Google doesn't find it. So that's just my 2 cents. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but it just seems like with tools like this and being able to stay in Google's good graces, it just makes sense to do the outreach, to do these more white hat link building techniques.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's definitely, the way that we kind of promote it. And I think that, for me, it's kind of what white hat is the way to go, but everybody can kind of make the decision sort of themselves. But, hey, what can I say?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go here, do you have any final tips, either for link building strategies and how people can use Ninja Outreach, or just for business in general, maybe anything that you've kind of learned along the way in building out your business, things you'd like to leave people with?
Yeah, I think maybe the answer to both of those questions is patience, because definitely patience is been the key for us in business. I mean, if I had listened to any of the signs, I should have quit a long time ago. I should quit right when we launched the application in January of 2015, and like nobody signed up for it. We should have just said, okay, pack my bags, going on to something else. But had I done that, we would have missed out on what's been a really interesting journey, and now is a more viable business that I probably never thought we'd even get to where we are now. And and even on link building, when you talk about individual strategies, it is work to sometimes often people sign up for Ninja Outreach and they're kind of expecting like something really quick and easy, because they've got this tool and everything like that. And, we always try to say that, well, Ninja Outreach is definitely going to help. It's going to make it quicker and more efficient, but it's still, it's still an investment. It's still marketing. You have to be willing to do the prospecting, to curate the list and QA the email addresses and the first names and things like that, do the personalized outreach. And, the end result may not be that much, but if you're willing to kind of stick it out and put in the effort, I do think that, you can come out on top, because I'm just going off of personal experience. I wrote 100 guest posts in 2015 and the individual result of any of those was really not that much. But here we are. Something must have worked.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Great business advice in general. I completely agree. Patience, things don't happen overnight usually for most of us. So great tip there. So for people that are interested in checking out Ninja Outreach, I would hope that they would go through my affiliate link. It's nichepursuits.com/ninja, and they can check that out and see what the tool's all about. So Dave, before we leave, if people wanted to get in touch with you or just follow along with what you're doing, how should they do that?
They can just send me an email to dave@ninjaoutreach.com, and I'm pretty active on the email side of things. Respond to everything. Just say hey, just say I like the podcast or whatever. You want to talk shop? All that's good stuff.
Perfect. Yep. So I encourage people to do that if they want to stay in touch with Dave. But I appreciate your time very much and for coming on the Niche Pursuits podcast.
Thanks, Spencer.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening.